Buying and selling homes should be an overall pretty straightforward process, but I think one of the parts that makes people a little nervous, and this is both buyers and sellers, is when it comes to reading and interpreting property inspections. And in this particular video, I want to walk you through a real pest and termite report so that once you're done watching this video, you will be way more uncomfortable reading the report and understanding exactly what it's trying to tell you. Now, before we begin, a gentle reminder, I'm Ernesto, your local Bay Area realtor. If you have any questions on buying, selling, investing, give me a call, send me a message. I'd be more than happy to help. And before we continue, hit the like button and subscribe so as we put more of these videos. I know that you like them and you'll be notified first as soon as they release. As we go through the video and we go through the actual pest and termite report that I'm going to share with you, some of the big takeaways that I want you to have are, firstly, understanding the difference between Section 1 and Section 2 as it's codified on the report, why this matters. Secondly, why do termites present themselves to begin with? What can you do as a homeowner to prevent them from popping up at all? Secondly, understanding what and how you can fix something on your own. Unless something says that it has to be done by a licensed professional, such as fumigation, for example, a lot of the other stuff you can actually take care of yourself, and that's really going to be one of the big takeaways of this video as well. As a buyer, it's obviously very important to have a really good understanding of the overall condition of a home that you might spend a very long time in. In fact, it could potentially be your forever home. So very, very important. Conversely, and these are some of the benefits that I recommend to my sellers before we put their home in the market, is there's really three main benefits that come from doing pre-listing inspections before you sell a home as well. I would say the first one is you also get the opportunity to have a good understanding of what the flaws are with the home. Some of them may have been obvious and visible to you, but some of them may not be. Secondly, you are in control and you're in the driver's seat around what repairs you want to make. And frankly, there are some worth taking care of and some that are maybe not worth taking care of. And lastly, when you put a home on the market with a complete set of thorough inspections, you drastically increase the probability that you're going to get a contingency-free offer because all of the questions regarding the condition of the home should have been answered by you thanks to doing your pre-listing inspections. So you may be asking yourself, hey Ernesto, what's a scenario in which you recommend I do address the repairs? And what's a scenario in which you think maybe I can get by without having to fix everything? The first thing I'll say to anybody is that there is no such thing as a perfect inspection report. So as a buyer, you need to understand that. And as a seller, that should also serve as reassurance that just because your home isn't absolutely perfect, the fact of the matter is they rarely are, and that's okay. So let me give you an example in which I think you can get by without repairing something. Air conditioners, right? Air conditioners have an average life expectancy of anywhere between about 15 and 25 years. And every now and again, we'll encounter a scenario where the air conditioner is much older, maybe it's 30, 35, 40 years, but it's still working. In that scenario, if the AC is working just fine, we don't know how much longer it's going to last. So I would be okay not having to replace the air conditioner. However, I'll give you another example and one that I'm dealing with right now as we prepare to bring a listing to market. There is a deck, and that deck has water damage, and it was unclear until you basically removed part of the deck to fully assess how widespread the water damage was. And so in this case, we brought in a licensed contractor to assess the deck in a professional manner and repair it responsibly so that now we have the peace of mind that it is secure. In that scenario, you bring a home to market and it's got a potential safety concern that buyers are unclear of how bad it is. In that case, I do recommend that you replace it. So with all that being said, let's get into an actual example of a pest and termite report specifically. Okay, so without further ado, let's dig into an actual pest and termite report. And what I love about this report is that the first page alone is going to give you a lot of the lessons that this video is really meant to clarify. And so let me minimize myself so there's less of me, and let's start going through this. So really one of the most important parts of this report is this diagram, which you're always going to find. And this diagram, what it's doing is it's telling you in a numbered fashion where the damage is. And some things are going to be widespread. So for example, item number 3 here indicates that it's happening throughout this structure. And this structure happens to be a garage. Sometimes what we'll also find is that the damage is happening in more than one place. So item number 1 here We're seeing this on the front house, I'm sorry, in the front section of this structure, and we're also seeing it in the back right of the structure. This property, without you knowing what it is a main house on the front, there's a garage on the back, and there's an ADU to the back right. And so this diagram is going to clarify for you exactly where the damage is. The other important part of this report, really the meat and potatoes of it, is where they get into the line items of the different deficiencies that have been discovered because of the report. So starting with item number 1. So what is it saying is the deficiency or the defect here? Drywood termites have begun to damage the ADU railing, and it's telling you what to do. You basically have to replace the wood members. So this is a section 1 item. So one of the big points that I want to drive home is that there's certain things that will be labeled section 1. That means it is an active, ongoing problem that you should fix either immediately or in the near future, versus there will be some things on here that are labeled section 2, which means this could become a problem. Keep an eye on it, but it isn't required that you fix it immediately. So this is item number 1, which is section 1, so we should fix this soon. And let's go back and look at that map to see exactly where it's happening. So per this diagram, it's happening here on the front of the ADU and to the back right of the ADU. So there are 2 porches that come off of this structure, and that's exactly where it's happening. The other thing I'll mention is that if you scroll typically to the very bottom of the report, there are photos, and that's one of the ways that I filter out the inspectors that I want to work with. I want to work with an inspector that's going to take plenty of photos so that I have a visual of just how bad the damage is. So here is photo of exactly what is happening with this railing. Over time, because of water damage, this wood area is basically rotten away, and it should be replaced. So here's a good example of a section 1 item. So let's continue. Let's go back to the top page. And what's the second item? So item number 2, this is indicating noted minor exterior stucco cracks at the walls, no outward signs of moisture intrusion noted. So what this is saying is that the stucco is beginning to crack, but doesn't look like water is getting into the house. This is a section 2 item. So this is a good kind of sequential example of the different elements of these reports. So this means this is not super urgent. You don't have to fix it right away, but it is something you want to keep your eye on. So let's go back and see where it's happening. It's item number 2, so let's see how it's marked. And anytime you see this little circle with the arrow going outward in all those directions, that means it's pretty widespread, like it's not isolated. And I've been to this property, and I think what's happening is the sprinklers are hitting the house, and so that little amount of water per day is starting to cause this stucco to crack. So good example of what a section 2 item looks like. Let's go to the next one. So this is another good example of what can happen in a pest and termite report. So item number 3, what's going on? Evidence of drywood termites are noted at the ADU rim joist, railing, kick trim, side garage door, support post, rafter, and soffit. So this is pretty widespread. What are they recommending that you do? Tarp and fumigate the entire structure with an approved fumigant, mask over or remove the termite pellets. And so this is something that I would definitely leave to a professional. So if you want to go back to the company that did this inspection for you, or maybe another pest and termite company, that's a big pro tip here, is here what needs to happen is fumigation. And you don't need to have the company that did the inspection also do the repairs. Some things you can fix yourself, like item number 1, we saw that that's some wood damage. If you know someone that you like and trust that can repair a railing for you, then you can absolutely have it done yourself. But in this case, anytime it involves specific chemicals or fumigation, I definitely would just leave that to the pros. And let's see where it is. So that's item number 3. And by looking at this diagram, where do we see the number 3? So we see it at the garage, so we'll need to fumigate the garage, and we see it at the ADU. So that means when they come out to fumigate, they should fumigate the ADU as well. I can tell you from this being a real-life scenario, this owner did a couple things. He was able to negotiate a lower price on the fumigation, so definitely shop around. Don't be afraid to negotiate. And secondly, he decided that for the peace of mind of his family moving into this home, they were going to get the entire property fumigated. So that's something that you're definitely entitled to do. And let's get into some of these repair numbers. So we saw item number 1, is basically 2 wood railings, right? So you may know different people in the trades that can help you with that. But let's see what this company would have charged you to replace it. So really the very last element of this report is the cost of the repairs. So here we go. Number 1, $3,300. So is it possible that you can find someone that you know, maybe a contractor or a handyman, or maybe someone in your family that's really handy with building the wood railing? Absolutely. And I can tell you from personal experience, one of the things that I do with these reports, especially when it's wood damage like this, is I leverage a handyman. So you can use your own, but I leverage a handyman that I use repeatedly, and we can almost always get these repairs down by about 50%, sometimes even a little bit less. So a lot of this damage, especially for anything that involves wood damage, you can absolutely do yourself. And so I want to keep going with a few more examples. Again, we won't go through all of them because this, one of the reasons why I chose this report is in the very beginning, it gives us 3 different scenarios. We have item number 1, which is a section 1 item. We have item number 2, which is a section 2 item. And then item number 3 is something that does involve a situation where you should definitely use a professional. I wouldn't trust just anybody off the street to fumigate a house. That's my personal opinion. Now let's go to another one just for the sake of learning a little bit more. Item number 4, drywood termites have damaged the main house rim, joist, and joist. This one says in order to facilitate these repairs, we'll have to remove the exterior stucco. This is a section 1 item, so let's see exactly where this is and see if there's any photos. So this is number 4. This is happening at the back left corner of the house. This is in the crawl space. So let's go down to the report. So we have photos of item number 4. So a little tough to see from this photo exactly what's going on here. I want to give you one example that happens a lot and just goes to show how much money you can save by repairing some of these things yourself. Let me go back to the report and see exactly where it is. I think by looking at this, it's going to be item number 14. I'll show you what I am talking about. Okay, here's a good one. Surface fungus was noted on the kitchen sink underlayment, and I hope they have a photo. So this is under the kitchen sink. Literally, there's always like 2 cabinet doors that you open under the sink. Most people keep like cleaning supplies or a trash can. That's the specific area that I'm talking about. Let's see if they have a photo of item number 14. Here it is. So it's this wood kind of shelf. And everybody has one of these, and this happens a lot. I'm going to give you an example of how this is really one of the points of this video is that you can save a lot of money by doing these repairs yourself. So item number 14, what do they want to charge for that? Well, the Pest and Termite company wants to charge $275. And look, I'm not going to get into the economics of these things and why professional companies have to charge what they do. I absolutely empathize with business owners, and you have to take into account things like overhead, marketing, insurance, payroll expenses, etc. Like they obviously have to charge a certain amount that makes this profitable for them. But what I want to point out here is that item number 14 here, if you have them fix it, is a $275 fix. Versus, I can tell you from personal experience, you can actually go to Home Depot, tell them that you want to replace that shelf, maybe bring the bad one in with you, and as long as they know the measurements, they can cut a new one for you, and that's going to run you about $25 to $30. So there's definitely different ways to save money. And what I want to end with is that as you go through this report and you go to these areas around the house and you learn that, a lot of this you can fix yourself. Let's go back and look at some of the photos. Oh. Things like this little wood beam is obviously water damage, right? That's why it's begun to warp. The wood shelf. This is a piece of plywood in the garage. Not complicated things. These are railings. This is, again, more water damaged wood. The point that I want to emphasize here is you definitely can fix a lot of this yourself. And if you wanted to, for your own peace of mind, let's say you found someone that can do these repairs for literally 50% off, that might be pretty enticing, especially when you consider the fact that the total bid for all of these repairs on this report are $14,000. So you can save multiple thousands of dollars by having somebody that you know or having somebody that understands this report to at least to the degree that you just learned, execute these repairs, and then you can have the Pest and Termite company come back out, do a re-inspection, spend another few $100s, and that way you have the peace of mind that things were repaired the way that they should. So I am confident that a lot of people don't know what you just learned in watching this video. And I hope that after watching this, you now feel way more informed and comfortable and not so overwhelmed by A, understanding the report, and B, some of the numbers on here. Because if you're savvy and if you know a good contractor or handyman, you can definitely get this done for a lot less. So thank you for watching.